A few weeks back, Josh at JHS rocked out with the Digitech DF7 Distortion Factory pedal. This resulted in a swift and pronounced market adjustment, and now the internet is angry because they weren't able to stock up on the cheap before the video dropped, presumably so they could sell them at $200 to other angry people on the internet. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, does the Boss OD-20 not exist in this universe anymore? All right, here's a quick rundown. A whole bunch of dirt pedals emulated with Boss's Cosm modeling technology, plus an octave knob, presets, and a drive knob that goes up to 11. Let's take a look at our basic controls first before diving into all those models. So right now it's in the BD2 Blues driver setting, and you can tell because the big knob is pointed over here and this light is on. The variation button is for the setting with the outline around it. It's not left or right. So this is BD2, this is DS1. BD2, DS1, you get the idea. Then we got a drive, we got a bottom knob, that's for the lower frequencies, a tone knob, level, and then there's these two. Attack shape lets you tune things from smooth to aggressive, and this is the shape of how the note comes in. Does it spike, or does it just kind of float in? Heavy octave creates a sub-octave signal for the notes you play in the lower registers. All right, and now the part you really care about, the models. This pedal has 22 different models. 6 are kind of a generic style preset like metal, stack, boost. And then there's 6 based on Boss pedals, the HM2 heavy metal, the metal zone, the blues driver, DS1, OD2 turbo overdrive, and the OD-1. Then there's 10 non-Boss pedals, and there are quite a few surprising names in there. Tubescreamer, Full Tone Full Drive 2, MXR Distortion Plus, Klon, that's right, Klon, Marshall Governor, the Proco Rat, the Tom Schultz Rockman, the Big Muff, the Fuzz Face, and the Ace Tone Fuzz. That's a 70s fuzz, which I hadn't heard of before. I guess having a sort of shortened name on the panel and then referencing the full name in the manual is enough dot connecting to keep the lawyers happy. Who knew? So I'm going to run through the Boss modes one by one, quick and consistent, with the same boring riff played on the bridge humbucker of that rad orange Charvel. right, so here's the deal. I could keep doing this for the rest of them, but let's make this a little bit interesting. There are 10 pedals indicated on the right side of this knob. I'll do the same for those, but I'm going to do them out of order and without the name of the setting on the screen, just a number from 1 to 10. Write down these 10 pedals, and then as you listen, write down the number of the clip you're listening to next to the pedal you think it's for. So if in the first clip, if you think that's the Klon, put a 1 next to Klon, and so on. That sound good? There's also a downloadable version of that worksheet in the video descriptions if you're not feeling all that crafty, and I'll give you a second to hit pause and you can get all that ready. No, I'm serious. You should do this. It's going to be fun. All right, ready or not, here we go. I bet you're eager to see how you did, or maybe you just hate fun and you want to see how good this digital pedal from 2001 is. It's sounding like a fuzz face. Either way, here they are with the answers. All right, so how'd you do? Any surprises in there? Whether or not you think they sound like the pedal in question, I think you'll agree there's a pretty good selection in here. And I own a couple of these pedals, the Boss pedals and the non-Boss pedals. Does this sound like the real thing? I mean, we could sit here and say this is what a real Proco Rat sounds like. And here's what the Rat setting on the OD-20 sounds like. And then we could argue back and forth about how one sounds better than the other, or how the settings were different, or this must be modeled after a more modern vintage version of the pedal. Whatever. Fact is, nobody is calling this a Klon killer. The real thing is always going to sound more like the real thing than the thing trying to sound like the real thing. I don't think that's a controversial statement. Anyway, a few years ago, I was in a cover band, and I had to try and get close to the sound of these songs, whether I liked them or not. And I didn't really feel like buying a bunch of pedals just to use them for a few minutes once or twice a week. This was $80 and it covered all those bases. And what makes it perfect for playing live is just how it works with these presets. So you get a bunch of settings you like, you save them to the 4 slots so you can cycle between them, going from the manual mode, which is just whatever the knobs are set to preset 1, preset 2, preset 3, preset 4, and then back to manual mode. All right, so that's good, but not something that works for right in the middle of a song. So there's also a pedal mode that lets you toggle between the manual mode and a preset you choose, which is good for going between rhythm and lead, so you're not constantly cycling through all 4 slots. And when you hit both pedals, it selects between the preset you're jumping into. That's an incredibly useful implementation, and Boss always seems to be doing things that make the most sense for pedals that are going to be used live. They do the same thing for the DD-20, the CE-20, and I believe the EQ-20. This one has 2 other features that I think are kind of interesting. First, the headphone/line out jack. Now, as an amp simulator, it's... yeah, it's not the best, but it can drive a pair of headphones. So if you want to practice with a little bit of overdrive, it can definitely pull that off. It's a good practice tool. Then there's the amp controls output. So if your amp has a simple 1-button foot switch that can be toggled by opening and closing 2 contacts of a 1/4-inch jack, you can control whatever that function is from the OD-20. That means if it switches the amp's channels, you can program in which amp channel you want for each one of these presets. Or if it controls the effects loop, you can set which presets you want those effects on. Now, I've never used this for reals that way, but it seems like a really nice thing to have. I've got one more track for you to listen to, and I was definitely feeling a Pink Floyd vibe on this one. I wanted to take a deeper look at this pedal because I think it's still a very useful tool, and I've seen these going for around $100 today, and I think that's pretty fair. Although, if you're into the concept, I've also heard great things about the newer OD-20, which builds upon this with literally next generation technology. Still, I love these 20 series pedals, and I will eventually get around to talking about all of them. Don't be afraid of this pedal. Even though the technology is a bit dated, there's at least $100 of fun to be had with this thing. And hey, if you had fun, please make sure you're subscribed so you can catch up on the next video. Stay safe, keep playing, and I'll catch you on the next one.